Okay, so I am going to make a start. So I'm going to say thank you all, first of all, for joining this webinar. I'm hoping to keep it within 45 minutes, so I will do my best, so please do bear with me. My name's Abby. I work at Cobweb Solutions and I am the training lead here at Cobweb. I am being joined on this webinar by Chloe. She is our marketing manager. Throughout this webinar, Chloe will be checking the IMs, the instant messages, any of the chats that are written. I'll go through how you can do that in a moment, but if you've got any questions throughout this webinar, please do write them in that feature if you can. If you don't, because you've come in through sort of the web application and you want to verbally ask your question towards the end, I will give you an opportunity to do so then. But if you have anything that comes to mind throughout the webinar, then please do feel free at any point to type in your question and Chloe will do her best to answer it. If not, I will pick it up towards the end as well. Okay, so like I said, thank you ever so much for joining today. It's just a few little pieces about what I'll be covering off today. So once it loads, so today we'll be covering. So I'll be doing a bit of housekeeping to begin with. Like I said, if you can keep on mute throughout the session, that'd be fantastic. Bear in mind any sort of lag that might happen while I'm changing screens. There's quite a few people on this webinar this afternoon and broadband at the moment is being stretched, to say the least. To begin with, I'll go through cool bars, some of the icons and their meanings, things that you can see on your screen at the moment for those of you that Teams is brand new to. I'll go through some of the interface, so what some of the icons mean again, options that you can change, things you can customize, personalize. And then we'll take a bit more of a deeper dive into Teams. I'll swap over and share my screen with you so I can actually demo some of the features within Teams for you. I know some of you have been on a webinar this afternoon already that Cobweb have presented with somebody from Microsoft, where he touched on some of the features in Teams. So hopefully I won't cover things that you've already seen this afternoon, but if I do, hopefully I'll go over them in a little bit more detail. And I'll be covering things like meetings, the calendar function, how to chat and instant message with colleagues, the Teams function within Teams, how to check your activity, and the call feature as well within Teams. Just to begin with, you may see a few cool bars on your screen, and that's nothing to be alarmed about. When I'm sharing my screen in a moment, you may see mine. It's just to get you a bit more used to and familiar with which is your cool bar and which is mine. So the icons on the cool bar and what they mean. So on the far left hand side, quite standard, you'll be able to see the length of the call. You have the option to turn your camera on or off. I think some of you have come into the call with it on, which is brilliant, something that we're being encouraged to do as a company. Your microphone, again, you can have it on or off. There's the option to screen and desktop share, which I'll go through in a little while. You'll see the three dots or the ellipse as it's also known as. So this is a screenshot of when I was putting this slide together. They were the options I had available to me at the time. So you can see there's things with having your video, your background blurred. You can transfer a call, you can pop a call on hold. There are options that become available depending on what sort of things you've got lit up and enabled within Teams. There's also the raise your hand feature, which we'll see on the cool bar. This is something that Microsoft have released only recently. I think it's happened this week. It's one of a number of releases that Microsoft have speeded up over the last few weeks because of the situation we're all finding ourselves in, having to work from home. There's also the feature to chat and instant message. So this is what I touched on just now. So if at any point throughout this webinar you've got a question, you can click on that button. If you haven't, you can wait towards the end. You can unmute your mic and you can ask it to myself or perhaps to Chloe, our marketing manager. There's also the option to check call participants. So this is where you can see who's joined a call, who's joined a meeting. You can also add anybody that may or may not have joined, that might have forgotten to attend. You might not have sent them the invite, in which case you can manually add them after the meeting has started. And then there's also, it's quite obvious, of course, the hang up button, which is the white telephone in the red square. You'll see on the screenshot to the right hand side, there's the option to start recording.
And is now joining.
That's a great function, a great feature of Teams. this webinar is being recorded, so hopefully towards, I think, either this afternoon after the webinar or tomorrow morning, you'll get an email, a follow-up email from this webinar, and there'll be lots of useful tips and tricks and guides and such like, one of which will be the recording of this webinar. So if there's anything covered that you want to refer back to, you can do. So this is just a little bit of an introduction to the Teams interface. It's very similar whether or not you open it as a desktop application or you access Teams via the web. To start in the bottom left-hand corner is Microsoft's online help. It's quite self-explanatory what that is. If you ever are in Teams and you've forgotten how to do something, or you just want a reminder or all sorts of little things, if you click on that icon, it will bring up Microsoft's online web page. You can type in questions, you can search through the library of resources, all sorts of things, but that's just a nice, easy access point where you can get some help. Above that is the application bar. So these are the things I'll be touching on in a little bit more detail throughout this webinar. We will cover activity, chat, Teams, calendar and calls, and I'll briefly touch on files as well and how you can collaborate together seamlessly. If you work your way around towards the top of the bar, there's the option to create a new chat. I'll click on that in a moment when we go into the live demo environment, and I'll show you the options that appear when you do click on that. Next to that is the command bar or the search bar. In there, you can search for anything. You can search within chats, you can search for missed phone calls, you can search within file, documents, all sorts of things. Next to that is the profile and setting icon. So that will be a picture of yourself if you've got that set up. You can change your images. If you click into that option, you can then change your picture. You can change sort of what your status is, if you're online, if you're offline, if you're appearing away or busy. You can do all those sorts of things through there. You can also personalize, customize your notifications. So whether or not you want sort of pop-ups to appear or notifications to make a noise, all those sorts of things you can customize within that feature. And then, of course, the main screen is known as the application window, and that is where things will open up when you click on them. It's quite self-explanatory. But what I will do, I will flip over now into the live environment. So if you just, like I said, bear with me for any lag at the moment. But what hopefully you'll be seeing, like I said, give it a second or two to start loading on your screens, is you will see my Teams interface. So this is what we know, we sort of commonly refer to as sort of a web conferencing environment. Again, you can see this bar down here down the bottom. I'm pointing currently to my bar. So like I was saying to you, you can see here that it's being recorded. You can see the length of the call, all of the options here. The fact that I'm currently sharing my screen, you can see here it's different to what I showed just now. It's got a cross in the icon, and that gives me the option to at any point stop sharing my screen. The ellipsis, like I said, the three dots that give you the options. Again, if I click on these at the moment, I could stop the recording, I could dial somebody in, I can turn on live captions. Live captions is a great feature, again, that Microsoft have speeded up the release of. Microsoft give you the capability to translate your meetings into 50 different languages. At any one time, you can pick up to 6 of those. So if you're doing a global conference or a global call, you can have captions and all sorts of things happen at the bottom of the screen to everyone around the world. Background effects, again, something they've speeded up the release of. This is a great feature. So I think a lot of us may have seen the video of, it was an interview on the BBC that happened, I think, last year, and it was of quite a senior gentleman within the world of politics, and he was talking about things going on in the US. And unbeknown to him, his children ended up walking into the background. So what this feature does, again, you can preview things before you apply them. So blur background, you can see over here. You can pick all sorts of backgrounds. So these are all preloaded. So again, they look quite professional. You might want to upload backgrounds of your company's logo. All of these things you can do, and I don't mind sending you sort of information links on how you can do that after this call. But again, if you're going to have things that are a little less personal or professional, you can upload them to your heart's content. There's lots and lots of things to choose from. I'm going to, for the purpose of this, stay quite professional, and I'm going to put myself over here. I'm going to be in an office environment. So if I was to apply this and turn on my video, down the bottom right hand side of the screen, you'll be able to see me, and this is what everyone else on the call would be able to see. So I'm going to apply that. Again, it's a great little feature. So again, I'm going to close that down. These are some of the features I was talking about just now when I was introducing the call bar to you. So raise your hand. Like I said, if you at any point have got a question, you literally click on that and it will let Chloe know that you've raised your hand. If you decide you don't have a question, you can lower it. But that's something more towards the end of the call if you want to. And again, I can see down here, Chloe's raised her hand. If we keep that towards the end of the webinar, and you can use that if you've got a question that you vocally want to ask. Show conversations. This is the chat EIM feature. So this is great. So you can carry on typing your questions throughout all of this. That's great. So if you don't have raise your hand, that might just be because you've dialed in via the web. It might be that you need to update your Teams. Like I said, this only came out this week. So it depends really on your current situation within your business. But if you don't have it now, like I said, there are a few things we can help you with. It might be the version of Teams you've got, in which case just update it, or it might be that you've joined us today via the web. Show participants. This is what I was saying to you, so I can see everyone here that's joined. I can see who's outside my organisation. I can see if people are a guest. And again, I can manually invite somebody that hasn't joined that I want to be part of this call. If I copy join information, for those of you that have joined via Outlook or via the web, you'll see it would have said join Teams meeting, and you could have clicked on a link. So behind that link is a URL. If I wanted to copy any of that join information, the URL for instance, I click on that, it will generate the URL as a copy image, and I can paste it to somebody and they can also join. So like I said, this is just a brief introduction to sort of calling, video call. It's great, there's lots of features, it's feature rich. Again, I could mute everybody if I wanted in a call situation like this. It's quite good. You still have the capabilities to unmute yourself personally, but I can override that if I need to at any point. So that's quite nice. Again, like the little orange dot here, that will just alert myself. It will alert other presenters, people within the meeting, that something has been typed. So moving on nicely from this, I'm going to just touch on calendar. So that goes on to how to schedule a meeting or a call like this. So you can see here, I've got today's webinar in my diary. It is as straightforward as clicking in my calendar as to where I'd like a meeting to take place, so a date, a time. It does exactly what Outlook does and webmail. For any of you that are familiar with Outlook and creating a calendar invite within Outlook, everything that you do in Outlook will mirror into Teams and vice versa. Everything that you add in Teams will mirror into your Outlook calendar. Being part of the Office 365 suite, a lot of things sync automatically, they will talk to each other, so you don't ever have to worry about setting something up in Outlook and it not coming across in Teams. That is almost unlikely to ever happen, so I wouldn't start worrying about things like that. So like I said, you can click on the space within your calendar. You can manually set up a meeting by clicking up here. So I will touch on that briefly. If you click on the arrow, it will give you the option to schedule a live event. Live events aren't something I'm going to touch on today because there is a lot to a live event. I do training for things like that separately to sessions like today. And I did one last week for a big customer that was going to be presenting to 400 people within a company meeting. So that's more of a broadcast. It's more of a one-to-many. It's great for sort of communication teams, marketing teams, product launches and such like. That doesn't send out the attendees an invite like you'd have received today, but it would send them out, it would create a URL. So you don't have much control over who attends, but you can attend, many can attend. So if you're doing something that's got more than 250 attendees, you have to do it as a live event. With a live event, you can have up to 10,000 attendees. But putting that to one side just for the sake of this webinar, we're going to schedule a straightforward meeting like you would do in Outlook, like you're probably quite familiar with. So for this, I'm just going to call it test. I can add people to this. So I'm going to add Chloe. Chloe is my right-hand woman for the sake of this webinar. I'm going to schedule it for tomorrow morning. And I'm going to do it in the morning. So let's pick 10 o'clock. It's going to automatically schedule it for half an hour. I can override this, change the length of the meeting. Like in Outlook, I can have it as an all-day option. And what Teams is doing here, where it says suggested, it's using a plugin called Find Time, which is again something I can go into in more detail. but it will look at my calendar, Chloe's calendar, and it will suggest times where we're both available. Like in Outlook, there is the feature to make a meeting repeatable. So every day, so that's every weekday, so that's Monday to Friday for a lot of us. Daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, custom as well. So you can have things twice a week, you can have things fortnightly. That will give you the option within there. Add channel. So I will touch on this in a moment, but when we go into Teams, when you create a team, you can create channels, and channels are for a particular set of people. So if I wanted to add a channel, basically it would invite a subset of people to this meeting, and I can add location. So you can see here at Cobweb, prior to this all happening, that's all working from home, our IT admins would have they would have uploaded our meeting rooms. So again, in here, this is quite a brilliant feature. These are the names of our meeting rooms, and you can see the time that I'm proposing to have the meeting, whether that meeting room is, or whether the meeting room in question is free, or whether or not it's already booked. Just down the bottom here, it will give you the opportunity to add agenda, content, context to your meeting, like you would do in Outlook. And then all you do quite simply is you send that, and it will send to the other person. And like I said, straight away, it comes up into your calendar. That will mirror across into Outlook, and that person will also get an invite. It's up to them where they accept it. They can accept it in Outlook or Teams. If you do create a meeting in Teams, it will create itself as a Teams meeting unless you put in a location. The location is external. You can pop in addresses and it will pre-populate the address if you're going to have it outside of the office. But as automatically, it will create it as a Teams meeting. A nice feature about the calendar, like you would see in Outlook, it will give you the opportunity to flick through to different days, different months. You can then do automatically a quick flick back to today, so you'll never sort of lose where you are. There's not sort of too much clicking through things. You can change the view of the calendar, so you can change it from work week will be sort of automatic if that's what your IT people have set it up to be. So for a lot of us, that's Monday to Friday. You can click to the day, so you can see exactly what you're doing that day, like you would do in Outlook. And again, you can have a look for the week as well, so that would include the weekend. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Like I said, there's a lot of things I could do, but the one thing I will do briefly for a lot of you that are sort of new to this is just show you briefly how it integrates into Outlook. So hopefully you can see this screen. So this is just a standard. This hopefully should be more familiar to a lot of you that haven't got your head around Teams just yet. But for those of you that do have it integrated into Outlook, that's a license thing on this occasion. So you might want to check which license you've got and how it's integrating into your existing applications. But again, I could create things. I'm going to do another test. I'm going to do test number 2. I'm going to again send it to Chloe, and I'm going to send it to Learning at Cobweb Solutions. I'm going to set it for tomorrow again, but this time I'm going to do it in the afternoon. But because I want it to be a Teams meeting, I have this nice little icon up here. And by clicking on that, it will create this into a Teams meeting. So it will give me the option to join. I can join via Outlook, I can join via Teams, and it will also carry across into office.com. So because of the license I've got, I can access all of my applications online, making everything remotely accessible. I can collaborate on the go. I can be, not in this case at the moment, but I could be in an airport, I could be in a coffee shop. I don't have to be always at home, at work. I can sort of log in almost anywhere and also on any device. So by clicking on this and by going back into Teams, I just share with you my screen again. And I go into calendar, and if I switch the week, so you can see how easy it is to sort of change what it is I'm doing. Again, test number 2 has come straight across into my Teams calendar, even though I created it in Outlook. So that's the calendar. Again, there's lots more to it. There's things I'm not going to go into too much detail here. You see there's probably things I've not clicked on that you're questioning. But again, if you get to the end of this call and there's more that you want to know, then do definitely contact your account manager. I'll give you some of our contact details towards the end. But I'm just going to cover the basics. This is a quick start to Teams. This is just to get you up and off the ground if this is all very new to you. So by finishing off with calendar, I'm going to go into chat. So you'll see there's a nice little one up here. This is just letting me know that there's things going on in the background. So although this is a video call, there's lots of people on this call. What it will do in the background is it will create this chat that I can just, at any time I can access via chat. So there's a lot of things here going on. I can see looks like Chloe's got her hands full, but I'm sure there's some great questions that I will help go through towards the end. You can see here people are reacting to some of the comments. This is a great little feature that I'll cover off in a moment. So when you go onto chat for the very first time and these things aren't here, it will give you a quick link to start a new chat. But referring back to the icon I touched on at the beginning, I can manually create a chat up here. So this is quite straightforward. You can see that Chloe's down here already. But if I was to message myself, which I can do because I've called in from a different account, I can say hello. And it's very much like Skype for Business, for those of you that Skype for Business is familiar with. I can do some simple messaging, so I can just do some one-liners, some hellos, some how are you, give me a call. But unlike Skype for Business, Teams offers a lot more functions down the bottom, as you can see. So one of the nice touches that Teams has got is the ability to format your message. So I could say, please, can you remember? Oh, if I could spell, that would be helpful. Please, could you remember X, Y, Z? And the nice thing here is you can format these, so I could bullet them, I could number them, and also here I can press enter. So I don't know if a lot of you have ever fallen foul to starting a message, pressing an enter like you would do in Word to start a new paragraph, and then your message sends. And you're like, oh, I didn't mean to send it. So again, if you format your message within this function, within this feature, you can press enter. You've got no worries that your message is going to disappear before you've finished, and then you manually have to click send. So that disappears off quite nicely. There's the ability to make your message important or urgent. So like you were doing an email, you can change the priority. You can attach a file. You can add emojis, GIFs, stickers. As Cobweb, as an organisation, we tend to encourage that for more out-of-hour use and try and keep things quite professional while we're at work. But now and again, the time calls for it and you might want to send a GIF. So what I'm going to show you quite quickly is if I access Teams from my phone, because I've got it loaded, this is quite a nice feature. So if I go into this, and you'll see, you can't see exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to react to my last message. So you can see this love heart has just appeared. And what that does is that has shown me who's reacted. So again, it's the person I'm speaking to. I could have more than one person within this chat. So they've given me a little reaction. And what I'll do in a moment is I'll show you where the notifications for those little things live. If I'm having a conversation with somebody and I'm thinking, oh, this person's confused or they're not understanding, or I just want to give this person a call, I can do that. There are some quick access icons within the chat. So I can give them a video call, I can voice call them. If I'm talking about a certain document or something on my screen, or I'm talking to even somebody in my IT department and I'm getting an error message or something's not working, I can also share my screen with them so they can see everything I'm working on, whether or not it's a web page, it's my desktop. There's the ability to do all of that as well. I can add people to this chat by clicking on this button here. So halfway through a chat, I might want to bring somebody into it. Or I can also pop the chat out if I want to close down Teams in itself, but keep the chat open. I can now do that, which is also a new feature that Teams have brought out in the last few weeks. If at any point I want to start sharing or collaborating, well, I'm going to say with myself, but I'm not obviously, but with the person I'm talking to, I can click on files and I can upload. So I can upload pictures, videos, Word documents, Excel, PowerPoints. I can do it all, so we have online access to it all, and we can collaborate quite seamlessly together. So if there's a Word document in this window, we could both open it, we could both work on it. What it will do when I open that document is it will tell me who else is working in it, and I can also quickly find out where in the document they are working. It does update in real time. I'll give it like a few seconds, but you can see what other people are typing if things have been deleted. When they do delete things, you'll be reassured to know that Microsoft and especially Teams do a version control. So you can revert back to any sort of previous versions, any previous save points, in case things start going drastically wrong or too many people have been invited to a document to start sharing with it and collaborating, and you just think, oh no, I need to go back to the original one. You can do all of that via version control. So that just gives you a little bit of an intro into chat. If I go back onto this really briefly, you will see over here there's an arrow. So if I know straight away I need to chat to more than one person, I can put test. And for the purpose of this, I'm again going to add myself, but I'm going to add Chloe. And I can start typing to these people. They'll get a notification saying that they've been added to a group chat. I'm just going to put hello for the purpose of this, and it'll give notifications to the individuals that you've messaged them. It'll keep you a running track of things that are going on. And one nice thing about this, you can see down here, Chloe's typing. It does persistent chat. So in Skype for Business, a big pain point was when you close down a conversation with somebody, that conversation history will disappear into the ethos. I think mine used to appear in a folder within Outlook. What Teams does offer is persistent chat. So you can always come back to this place. You can always see what's being said. Again, if you ever need to search anything, you could do up here. One thing I'm going to touch on briefly when it comes to the search or type of command bar, as you can see, is if at any point I'm sort of mid-flow, mid-conversation, mid-call, and I want to sort of drop somebody a quick message, what I can do is, for those of you that hopefully a lot of you sort of in the modern age that we're in know what it is to be mentioned, you can now mention people within the 2019 version of Outlook. You can message people, mention people. So again, you can see here I'm going to message Chloe. So I either click on her or I can type in her name up here. There she appears. If I press enter, it also gives me the option to just sort of send her a quick message. She'll get that like she normally does. You can see over here it's come over into my chat history. So Chloe's also just got a hello from me. Again, it gives me the option over here to pop out that chat. And if I click on the three dots or the ellipse, it gives me some more options here. So I can pin this to my chat, so it'll always stay towards the top. I can mute it, so I won't get any notifications when Chloe next messages me. I can hide it, notify when available. That was also an option we had within Skype. But when Chloe logs on and she becomes available, I'll get a little notification to say Chloe's now available. So there are some nice little features, some nice little quick access features within the chat function. So I touched on sort of having a one-to-one chat, creating a group chat. What I'm going to do, because it brings us on quite nicely, I'm going to click on activity. You can see up here I've got a brand new notification. So by clicking on that, you can see over here you can see I've been mentioned, which is fantastic. You can see that I've reacted to messages. You can see all sorts of things within here. And what it does in activity is it will give you sort of any missed calls, any voicemails that have been left. If you've been added to a team or a channel, you'll get any sort of notifications here. So it's just somewhere where all of your activities kept. You can see my activity. So again, as a demo account, I've not really done too much. But if I had liked things, if I had added people, it will give it all up here. It will bring up everything that I do. Will sit quite nicely here. So that's sort of all I'm going to do. There's not too much to sort of talk to in regards to activity, just that it's sort of a nice place where everything lives. So I'm going to move on to the biggie. I'm going to move on to teams within teams, which is always a bit of a mouthful, but so you have to be quite specific as to what it is you're referring to. So when you click on teams, what it will do automatically is give you the option to create a brand new team, which I'll talk you through in a moment. Once you've created a team as an owner, you can issue a code out to other people within your organisation. If I'm the person that's been given a code, I can type it in here, and then it will populate that team and let me join through this route. And what it will also do is show me any teams that have been created within my organisation. So again, it would let me know whether or not these teams are public, if they're private. And what it will also do is it will give me the option to join a team, which is quite nice. So if it's public, I can join it straight away. If it's private, the owner of that team will be sent a notification, and it will say Abby's requested to join this team, and then there's the option to approve it. The reason why you can see these teams is when you create one, you have the option to make it searchable and discoverable. So the owners of these teams have said, yes, it can be searchable. Everyone can see what it is I'm up to, which is why they're appearing here. If you wanted to create a proper lockdown private team, you just wouldn't select that, and then it would stay sort of undiscoverable. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a team and talk you guys through this just briefly. You can create one from an existing Office 365 group or team. Again, I'm not going to touch on that because that gets quite deep in the sort of the realms of teams. But to create one from scratch is quite straightforward. I'm going to do a public one, and I'm going to call it a demo team. I can put in a description, so I could put demoing teams to Cobweb customers. And it was just as straightforward as that, and I click create. And what it'll do, it'll take a minute or so to create. It will say nice work, because it's really happy that you just created yourself a team. And then what I can do is I can start adding people. And it is as easy as that. So again, the reason why it didn't give me the option there to make it searchable or discoverable, because it was an automatic public team. If I do that again, which I don't mind doing, again, you can do join or create a team down here. If I do create a team, do a team from scratch, and if I've got a little thing, if I do it from private, you can see down here, this team is searchable and discoverable. If I change the setting, it will just allow me to unselect that, in which case nobody then will be able to see it. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to discard it for the purpose of this. But what I'm going to talk to you in a bit more detail about is the difference between a team and a channel. So a team is going to be my original project group. It's going to be a department or a large group of people. I'm going to say for instance, I invite 10 people to this. I have the option up here to hide it if I ever want to manage a team, to add a channel, add a member. I can't leave the team myself because I'm the owner, I've created it. I can edit the team, so I can change the picture. So you see where it says DT, taking the initials of what I've typed, get linked to a team. So again, I can let people join this via a link, manage the tags, which is something I'd go on to in a more detailed training session, but I do have the ability to delete it where I am the owner. So again, I might have lots of people, 10 people, let's say, a part of this team, which is brilliant, but I want to have a subset within my team of maybe 4 or 5 people. So when I first create a team, automatically it will create a channel called general. I can't do anything about that. It will always remain, and everyone within this top level team will be able to see what is typed in general. So if I click in general, here we go. So Chloe said, welcome to the team, everyone. I can chat to my project group. I can chat to all 10 in this instance. I can have all the same features that I would do in a normal chat. So, but I can also reply to Chloe. So if everybody starts typing and they're talking about different things, but I can then go back to Chloe, and you can keep the topics really specific just by typing straight back to people. So that's the reply function like you do get in a lot of social media now. You can reply to people in things like Facebook. So that just gives you the option to reply directly back to somebody that's created a conversation. Within this, I might want to start sharing files within this project team. Again, I'd click on files like you would do in a chat. I can upload documents, again, any type of documents, things I want to edit within the team, Word documents, PowerPoint, Excel spreadsheets, anything like that. Again, it gives me the options to upload, to sync, so that would sync alongside OneDrive. That's something, again, we can touch on after the call or in further detail if you want to contact your account managers. But this is where a lot of the collaboration starts, especially in regards to files. So you can upload things here and work on things together. Like I said, if I want to suddenly start having a subgroup of people, a sub-project group within my original, what I could do is I could add a channel. So I'm going to add a separate channel. I'm going to create this a private project group, and you'll see it will sit within my original team. Again, I could put, I'm going to put full of secrets, even though it's not. Here we go. And then what I can do down here is I can make this private, and I can only invite a specific group of people. Like I said, those group of people has to be part of the original team, but it will, when I do load it, Chloe is going to be part of my little sub channel. She'll get a notification saying that she's been invited to it. It says private project, and you'll see it's got a padlock symbol next to it. So the great thing about this is I can then go off and have a separate conversation with a separate group of people. We can upload a separate group of files, so we can start working on things that are completely separate. But where it's got a padlock on it and it is private, the people that aren't invited to it won't ever see it. So be careful about duplication, because we have had instances where people don't know a channel has been created because they're not part of it, and then try and create one, and then you get not so much duplication of work, but you just got to be careful about managing these sorts of things. but you can, so it just gives you a lot of functionality. There's a lot of things that you can do within Teams. So again, it's just something to be wary of. I mean, being part of training and part of HR. So it's a really nice feature to have when it comes to sort of different departments within an organisation. If there are things specifically to a department that you have got questions about, again, you can contact me after this webinar, or you can contact your account manager. But there's always sort of, we do some webinars like this for some of our bigger customers on the art of the possible. And that is where we can spend a good few hours going over all of the possibilities within Teams. So if there's ever anything like that takes your interest, then do always let us know. And there are things that we can talk about. One nice little feature within a channel, you might have seen it in my calendar, is the option to meet now. So if I was to click on that, what it would do is it would dial out everybody within that channel, within that team, depending on what I'm currently clicked on. So if you're in the team, like I said, within general, that is where everybody lives. Again, I could meet everybody. If we want to just meet now with a subset of people, I can click into a channel and I can click meet, and it will only ring sort of 4 or 5 out of the 10, whoever I've got in that channel. But it just gives you a little bit of a feel for the differences between teams and channels. They are sort of words that get thrown around all the time. And what these are known as at the top are tabs. You do have the option to start adding tabs. Again, this is something I'm going to touch on too much detail now, just keep it quite brief for the moment. But you can add third-party apps into Teams. We've got customers that are currently on Trello and want to migrate away from Trello. But during that migration, they're going to integrate Trello into Teams. So there are all those sorts of possibilities as well. Again, if you're doing a lot of work within a project, within a team and a channel on Excel, you can have Excel preloaded into that channel and it would always be there. You'll always have your spreadsheets open, so you don't have to access them via files. You can do a lot of things automatically, have things preloaded within your workspace. So that's just a little bit on Teams. We haven't got much longer to go. You'll be pleased to know because we've got 5 minutes left. But what I am going to touch on now is the call functionality within Teams. So we use Teams quite a lot within the call function within Teams, within Cobweb. When we had to go remote working, 6 weeks ago, we were in a good place where we were primarily using Teams, but we sort of were kind of still even then chucked in at the deep end. We make all of our calls on Teams. We do all of our meetings now all virtual via Teams. So this again is a great feature. If your IT admins have set it up so you've got direct dials, you've got phone numbers associated with each of your team accounts, then they will all be connected to this interface. But what I'm going to show you just briefly is to go through these 4 features here. So speed dial's quite self-explanatory. It's like creating your own favourites. So you can see here, I've currently got Jeremy set up in my speed dial. Here's our COO at Cobweb. If at any point I didn't want Jeremy there, I could remove him by clicking on the 3 dots, and I can remove him from the group. I can remove him from speed dial. The chat feature here is just an extension to video call, audio call, chat, and it gives me the options down here, like we just said, to remove from speed dial and remove from a group. If I wanted to add anyone to my speed dial, I can. So for instance, I'm going to stick with my trusted Chloe and I'm going to add her to my speed dial. So you see Chloe is also on Do Not Disturb. I'll go through this in a little bit more detail in a moment. But that just shows me that she's not busy. Even if I send her a message, she'd get a notification, but it wouldn't pop up on her screen there and then. Jeremy, I can see he's in a meeting, so it probably wouldn't be worth calling him, but I could drop him a message to say when you're out of your meeting or off your virtual meeting, could you please give me a call? You can see here I've created a project group. This is creating a new group. I can add people to these groups or I can create another group. So I'm going to add project group number 2. So project number 2, create a group name. And again, I can expand that by clicking on the arrow. There's nothing to expand because I've not added anybody to it. But I can add a contact to that group. I can rename it and I can also completely delete that group in its entirety. So by deleting a group, I can go down here and delete a group. So I'm going to delete project 1 and I'm going to delete project 2. So is that straightforward? You can't delete your speed dial, but like I said, you can remove people from it. And it is as easy and as straightforward as doing that. So that's just speed dial. By going on to contacts, what it would do is populate everybody within your organisation. So your IT is part of your migration. If you have gone through that with Cobweb, what they would have done is set up everybody within your organisation. That might be 5 of you, 10 of you, 500 of you, but you'll have all of everybody's information here. You can have their job titles, again, their direct phone numbers. For Cobweb, for instance, these will all be linked into Teams. And I've got some quick access options to sort of IM them. I can email, I can video call, voice call, and again, I can add Chloe to my speed dial, or I can move the contact altogether. If I go into history, again, quite straightforward. You can see here me trying to get my demo account working. I've been calling the same people again and again. But what it will do here is give you a list of all your incoming, outgoing calls, any missed calls, how long your calls lasted, and when the calls took place. Again, if I click on the 3 ellipse, it gives me some quick access options, add to contacts, speed dial, I can chat to people, or I can call them back if I've missed their call. What it will do again within Teams is it will house and look after all of your voicemails. So rather than having to sort of call my voicemail and go through options and click option 1 to listen to them and play them back and blah, 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 what Teams does is it stores them for me individually. So what it would do here is give me a list of them. So like a lot of smartphones do nowadays, is it will let you just listen back to your voice call as an audio clip. So that's what Teams does. It just makes an audio for you. You can listen to it there and then. And what it will also do within Teams is create a transcript. So if it's been left in a foreign language, all sorts of things, it will also translate it into your native language. So that's a really nice little feature that there is within Teams. So again, I don't want to sort of touch on anything in too much detail, just introduce you to some of the basic features. If I did want to do nothing more than make a simple phone call, I'd click on calls up here. I click on make a call. And what it would do, because for this demo account, I've only got people internally loaded, I can click on people that it recognises to work within Cobweb. If I did have a phone number associated with my account, what it would do was also bring me up a dial pad, and it would give me my phone number at the top for quick reference. So what I will do is, for anyone that's interested in that, there's a lot of information around that, and Business Voice, a lot of offerings that Microsoft have got around integrating sort of PBX systems with Teams. So if you have got an existing PBX system and you think, oh, I can't make use of Teams from a call perspective, the answer to that is yes, you can. There are lots of options. They do come at a cost, but it's not like ridiculously expensive. So any options that you want to explore with us, then please do. Like I said, either contact me or Chloe after the call. If you've got an account manager, you can directly go to them as well after this call. But what we will do, like I said at the beginning, is Chloe after this call, I think it's going to probably be more like tomorrow morning, seeing as we are getting on within the day, she will send out a follow-up email. So there's a quick start guide to Teams, which is an ebook. So there's lots of screenshots within that, things that we've gone over today. You can sort of go through at your own pace. That will be included. There will be a recording of this webinar. There will also be some information around clip training. There'll be a link to that. Cobweb do sell it to customers. I think it comes in at around about £2 per user per month. What Clip Training does is give you some sort of short and sharp videos on how to do things within the whole of Microsoft Suite. So it will focus things on different versions of Excel, Outlook. It'll even touch on Power BI, on Teams, on Sway, on Flow. It's a massive library resource of videos, and it is probably maybe worth having for a longer term approach to your sort of training needs within your organisation. If at any point you think, actually, do you know what, we're only small or we're really big in a completely alternative situation, we could really do some bespoke one-to-one sort of training. It could be completely down to you to pick the content. We have huge lists of content. If you want to pick things in particular, like I said, we had a large customer the other day want training on live events within Teams. If there's anything like that you want that's bespoke to your business, then do always feel free to get in touch with us. There are some email addresses that will be included in the follow-up email, but if you ever got any questions, always feel free to email learning@cobweb.com, and that will come specifically to me, and then I can always dish that out to your account manager or find any further assistance for you. But that's all I need to touch on for today. What I am going to do now is click back into chat, and we'll have a quick click through the questions. If there's anyone here that hasn't been able to write a question, if you want to raise your hand, or I don't mind if you do want to unmute your microphone and ask a question. There are a few things here, so let's have a little look. Can people outside the organisation be invited to a Teams channel to work on a project? They can do, but you've got to have that set up with your IT admin. It depends on the policies that you've had enabled and also written. If your IT company are quite techie, there might be some coding involved, but you can. It just depends on what sort of things you've got enabled in the background. We do offer, we have a professional services team at Cobweb. If there's anything there that you wanted to run past a professional services team, you have an account manager, that sort of techie advice that you need, then also give them a call. Can you schedule in more training? Yes, you can. Or how can you? So again, if you want to contact me, go to your account manager. That's no problem. When will we be able to see more than 4 people? So the video option at the moment, yes, you are right, it does have 4. There is an update that's being pushed through this week and next week where it's gone up to 9. So there is still in the work, it's work in progress, but hopefully within the next couple of weeks you'll be able to see that. There is going to be, I'm not quite sure if they're going to get to a point where it's unlimited, but there have been rumours that over the next few months that might get upped from 9. So you can add contacts from outside your organisations, but like we have done today with you guys, it will have in brackets next to them guests. So it just sort of alerts you as to who you have that is joining things. I don't know if you can see it, but when you load up here, so in the top bar of your teams, it will have your organisation name. If you are part of other people's organisations, so I'm somebody external, like I've been invited to some of Microsoft's teams internally, I can drop down into a Microsoft team and it will just have next to me that I'm a guest. They'll have next to my name in their team that I'm a guest. So there's no confusion there, but yes, there is all the possibility. If I have a shared calendar with your colleagues, can you see everyone's scheduled meetings? You have to do that at the moment via Outlook. It is a tricky one. You can, they are looking to integrate more of the calendar features. If you click on some of the third-party apps, you can do that. But at the moment, the best place to look at what your colleagues are up to is via Outlook. But I will have a little update and have a look and see what the updates are in regards to that, because again, that's something that we have at Cobweb, where we sort of look at a lot of shared calendars internally. But at the moment, I do revert back to Outlook to have a look at that. Planner is really bad at integrating unless I'm not using it right. I will have a look at that separately outside of this webinar, Ratna, but I do use Planner now. Again, Planner is quite similar to Trello. So there are some bits and pieces. We do use Planner internally. Our project teams do use it. So I will go to them as well and see if they've got any advice that I can go back to you as well. How do you change the host when you need to leave and give someone else the lead? So I'm assuming that's within a team. So if I went over to my teams over here, I went into general and I went manage, or if I went to my team and went manage team, what it will do over here is it will load who I've got within the team. And you can see over here, it's currently calling out that Chloe she's my brilliant marketing manager. She's located in Fareham, but it's also giving me the option to change her from a member to an owner. So I could change her to an owner, and then it will allow me to leave the team. I can't delete it. Chloe will then be able to delete it, but I could, by swapping her into an owner, I could then leave it if I needed to. So I hope that answers that question. Again, I'm going to probably sort of leave it for now, but I do hope that answers some of your questions. If there's anything that you sort of think of, you sort of go away from this webinar and think, oh, I've got another question, do always feel free. Like I said, learning@cobweb.com will come directly to me. I'm quite happy to answer questions. But if there's something more bespoke that you need for you and your organisation, then do sort of let me know, let your account manager know.
Abby, can I just really quickly interrupt? Sorry, I've just seen that there's this question regarding security with regards to Microsoft Teams, and I understand that's obviously a very key thing for a lot of people at this point in time with everyone working remotely and stuff. So do you mind just very quickly answering that one? I do realise we're over time, but security is obviously very important.
Yep, so Microsoft is very secure. The whole of Microsoft 365 itself is renowned for how secure it is. So the information shared on free MS Teams, I think you're going to be completely safe. Again, it depends. I think as part of the free license, you have the ability to lock down a lot of things from behind the scenes. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. What I will do is check in with our PS team to confirm that. but I think considering the reputation Microsoft has, it does a lot of things around Intune. It has huge security capabilities. Like I said, I don't want to start saying it isn't. I'm quite happy to go to professional services, Philippa, and give you more information around that. Or if you've got an account manager, get them to contact PS for you, professional services. But I don't think you've got anything to worry about, is what I'd like to say. I've used the free version, I've trialed it, demoed it, and I've never come up with any issues at all. We've got Access Wealth Management. Could you do a seminar for small companies, one-man bands? Yes, I can do. Again, if you want to sort of, I don't mind doing a bit more of a feedback questionnaire after this. If I get some feedback from some of you on some of the detail that you want covered, again, it doesn't even have to be Teams. It can be some of the other applications within Office 365. That I'm happy to put sort of more of a library together, different content and sort of things that we can work through. That is no problem at all. But like Chloe said, we're almost 10 minutes over, so a lot of you feel free to leave if you need to. I don't want to sort of spend everyone's evening answering questions, but again, like I said, do feel free to reach out to all of us. I've got absolutely no issue in that. But apart from that, I want to say have a lovely Tuesday evening and take care for the rest of the week. But again, stay safe, and it's been a pleasure this afternoon. So thank you all for joining.